Hello, everyone. It's great to have you back with us on Podcast and Chill, here on the Learn English podcast channel. I'm Leo, your cheerful host, and with me is Gwen, who always keeps the conversation interesting.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today.
Gwen, I've been on social media a lot lately.
What have you noticed?
I've noticed that young people today are really good with languages. Some can speak 2, 3, even 5 languages.
That's amazing, Leo. But it's becoming more common in today's connected world.
Yeah, it's impressive how important languages are in connecting people around the world.
And that's what we'll be talking about today. How important is language?
That's right. We'll cover how language helps with communication, but also how it shapes culture, education, and career opportunities.
So get comfortable and let's jump into the fascinating world of languages.
And don't forget, we've got a free PDF with today's key points, so check the description below.
Make sure to click File, make a copy so you can take notes and make it your own.
All right, Gwen, let's talk about how important language really is.
Yes, Leo, language is the key to communication. It's how we share ideas, feelings, and information with each other.
That's right. Without language, we wouldn't be able to understand each other. Imagine trying to explain something important without words.
And it's not just about words, Leo. Language also shapes how we think and see the world.
Yes, I've read about that. There's even a famous study by Professor Lera Boroditsky from Stanford University. She found that people who speak different languages actually think differently.
That's why learning a new language can help you see the world in new ways.
But it's more than just communication. Language is also a big part of cultural identity.
Yes, language connects us to our culture and history. It helps preserve traditions and stories that have been passed down for generations.
For example, did you know that many old languages are disappearing?
Yes, it's a serious issue. According to UNESCO, almost 40% of the world's languages are at risk of disappearing. That's why preserving these languages is so important.
That's incredible. Language really is a link between the past and the present.
And let's not forget how important language is in education.
Of course. We use language to learn everything from reading and writing to understanding science and math.
Yes, language is the foundation of all learning. Research even shows that students who are good at language tend to do better in other subjects too.
That makes sense. And knowing more than one language opens up so many opportunities, right?
That's right. Being bilingual or multilingual can help you in your career, especially if you're working internationally.
There's research from the European Commission showing that knowing multiple languages can increase your chances of getting a job by up to 10%.
And it's not just about jobs, Leo. Knowing different languages can help you connect with people from other cultures and build relationships.
That's a great point, Gwen. And with all the technology today, language is even more important.
Yes, from translation apps to AI chatbots, technology relies heavily on language.
And who knows, in the future, we might even have technology that helps us learn languages faster. All right, now let's look at some important words from what we've discussed so far. The first word is language. Language means the words and rules we use to communicate with others. For example, English is a global language spoken by millions of people.
The second word is communication. Communication means sharing ideas or information with others. For example, good communication is important in every job.
The next word is culture. Culture refers to the way of life, traditions, and customs of a group of people. For example, language is a big part of every culture.
Another important word is bilingual. Bilingual means a person who can speak two languages fluently. For example, being bilingual can help you find a better job.
And the last word is opportunity. Opportunity is a chance to do something or improve your life. For example, learning a new language gives you more opportunities.
Let's ask a couple of questions based on what we've talked about today. First question, what language do you speak the most?
Yeah, maybe it's your native language, or maybe it's a second language. How does learning another language help you in life?
That's a great question, Leo. Now here's the second one. What's the most fun part of learning a new language for you?
Yeah. Is it learning new words, speaking with new people, or maybe watching movies in that language?
We'd love to hear your answers in the comments below.
Now, let's dive deeper into how language and thought are connected.
Language is not just a tool for communication. It also shapes the way we think and see the world.
That's true, Gwen. I recently read a study that showed how people who speak different languages think differently.
Yes, people who speak languages like Chinese or Japanese focus on the big picture, but speakers of English tend to focus more on small details.
This means language can affect how we solve problems.
That's why learning new languages can change how you think. Now, let's talk about language barriers. Language barriers are challenges that stop people from understanding each other.
I've experienced that before. When I traveled abroad, I didn't understand the local language. It made communication very difficult.
Yes, it can be frustrating. But there are ways to overcome language barriers. Technology has made it easier with translation apps.
You can now understand another language instantly with your phone.
And learning even a few words can make a big difference when talking to someone from another culture.
It shows respect and helps build connections.
Yes, and that's why learning languages is more important than ever in today's world.
Speaking of languages, here's a fun fact for you, Gwen.
Oh, what is it?
Did you know that Papua New Guinea has over 800 different languages?
Wow, that's incredible. That must make it the most linguistically diverse country in the world.
Yes, it is. It's amazing to think that one country can have so many languages spoken in different regions.
That's a perfect example of how rich and diverse human languages are.
Now, let's review some key words from today's discussion. The first word is barrier. A barrier is something that makes it difficult for people to do or understand something. For example, language can be a barrier when traveling to a new country.
The second word is fluent. Fluent means being able to speak a language easily and smoothly. For example, she's fluent in English and can have long conversations without problems.
The next word is translate. To translate means to change words from one language into another. For example, he helped me translate the menu from Spanish to English.
Another word is global. Global means something that involves or affects the whole world. For example, English is a global language spoken in many countries. Let's ask a few questions based on what we talked about today. First question, what do you think is the hardest part about learning a new language?
That's a tough one. For me, I think remembering new words is really hard.
Yeah, I agree. It can be hard to remember so many new words. I also think speaking fluently is another big challenge.
Definitely, it takes time to practice and get comfortable with speaking.
So, what do you think is the hardest part, dear listeners?
Is it remembering words, speaking fluently, or Something else?
Let us know in the comments below. Now for the second question. What opportunities can speaking another language give you?
Oh, there are so many. Like, it can help you get a better job, right?
Yes, it can. Being bilingual or multilingual is a huge advantage in the job market.
And don't forget travel. Speaking the local language when traveling makes the experience so much better.
Absolutely. So, what about you, listeners? What opportunities do you think learning a new language could give you?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. That was a great discussion today.
Yes, we talked about how important language is and how it shapes our world.
We hope you found it helpful and learned something new.
If you have any topics you're interested in, comment below.
Who knows? Your idea might be featured in one of our next episodes.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast and Chill, dear listeners. I'm your host, Leo, the guy who teaches you while making you laugh.
And I'm Gwen, your informative host, here to help you learn useful information through today's topic.
I know many of you feel nervous about answering quickly, and it's hard when you're still learning, right?
Absolutely. The fear of not knowing what to say or needing more time to think can make anyone feel nervous.
But don't worry. Today, we're here to give you tips that will really help. Whether you're chatting with friends, ordering food, or answering questions at work, we'll help you respond faster and more naturally.
That's right. We'll make it simple with easy steps you can use right away.
Are you ready to join us? Let's get started. Firstly, we will get tired when we learn something too difficult. Let's start with the simplest things. I think you know this best. Please share with listeners Gwen.
Okay, Leo. The first tip is practicing common phrases. This helps you respond faster because when you know them well, you don't have to think much before saying them.
Exactly. Think about it. We all have phrases we use every day without thinking. Like when someone says, "How's your day going?" You don't stop to translate. You just reply, "I'm doing well, how about you?" That's because you've said it so many times, it feels natural.
This is what you should focus on in English. Choose common responses you'll use often. For example, if someone compliments you, practice saying, "Thank you, that's so kind of you." Or if you don't know something, say, "I'm not sure, let me check."
To make it easier, think about situations you face every day. If you're in meetings, practice phrases like, "That's a great idea," or "Can you explain that again?" If you're at a coffee, try saying, "I'd like a coffee, please." The more you repeat, the better you'll get.
Here's a tip. Write down 10 to 15 common phrases that fit your life and practice them every day. Say them out loud, write them down, and use them in conversations as much as possible.
By repeating them, you create muscle memory. It's like when athletes practice the same moves again and again until they can do them automatically.
That's right. Studies show that practicing common phrases helps your brain connect them to real-life situations. It helps you respond quickly without stopping to think.
I want to share a technique that I often use when learning to speak. Do you know what it is, Gwen? It's pretty common.
Let me guess. I think I know it. You mean shadowing, right?
That's correct. One of the best ways to get faster at speaking is by using shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to a native speaker, then repeat what they say right away. You copy their pronunciation, rhythm, and speed.
It's like following the speaker's shadow. That's why it's called shadowing. It's a great way to practice because it helps your brain learn the language faster.
Yeah, you're not just learning how to say words. You're learning how to think in the same rhythm as native speakers.
Yes, it helps you respond quickly without overthinking. Start with easy podcasts or YouTube videos like Practice English with Jessica or our podcast, Gwen and Leo's English Zone. Listen to short sentences and repeat them right away.
You don't have to be perfect on your first try. The goal is to keep practicing until you can follow the speaker smoothly. When you do this, you'll notice it gets easier to respond quickly in real conversations.
Research by Kara M. Stauffer shows that shadowing improves your fluency, listening, and how fast you respond in conversations. It's like exercise for your brain.
A good way to practice is to spend 10-15 minutes each day shadowing. Just start with short sentences, then move on to longer conversations. All right, now let's talk about something that really slows down your responses: translating in your head.
Oh, yes, this is a big one. Many learners translate from their own language to English when speaking, which takes more time and makes it harder to reply quickly.
The solution is to start thinking in English. Thinking in English helps you respond faster because you don't have to translate in your head.
It might seem hard at first, but it's easier than you think. Start with simple things in your daily life. For example, while walking, think in English about what you see. The sky is blue, or that car is red. When shopping, think of what you need. I need milk, bread, and eggs.
One trick is to describe what you're doing in English throughout the day. It might feel silly at first, but it helps improve your fluency. Did you get what Gwen and I shared? Just let us know if you have any comments. Now, let's learn some vocabulary below, so you can understand the topic better before continuing to listen. Response. Definition: a reply or answer to a question or situation. Example, she had a quick response to the question. Muscle memory. Definition: doing something without thinking after practicing it a lot. Example, athletes develop muscle memory through practice. Fluency. Definition: the ability to speak or write a language smoothly and easily. Example, practicing regularly will help improve your fluency in English. Technique. Definition: a method or way of doing something. Example, shadowing is an effective technique for language learners. Silly. Definition: showing a lack of thought, understanding. Example, it might feel silly to talk to yourself in English, but it helps.
Next, practice with some questions below to see how well you understand the topic. Don't forget to type your answer in the comment section to discuss with others. What types of media can you use for shadowing? Podcasts and YouTube videos are great for shadowing. What is the main benefit of practicing common phrases? It helps you respond faster without thinking too much.
Building your vocabulary helps you answer quickly, but it's not just about learning new words. It's about knowing how to use them in the right way.
Yes, that's right. When you learn words or phrases in a sentence, you can see how they're used in real conversations, and that makes it easier to use them. For example, instead of just memorizing the word amazing, you can say, "That concert was amazing."
When you learn words in sentences, you're not just learning what they mean. You're learning how to say them naturally.
You can do this by reading or listening to things you like in English. Look at how words are used in sentences, and try using those phrases when you talk.
Another tip is to write down new phrases and how they're used. Then, practice using those phrases in sentences until you feel good about them.
Have you heard of the phrase active listening? It means paying close attention to the talk, not just the words, but also the tone, expressions, and the speaker's body language.
If someone asks, "What do you think of the new project?" you don't need to understand everything to reply. You can simply say, "It sounds interesting." "What do you think?" You're focusing on the main idea and responding naturally.
Active listening means paying attention to important words and tone. This helps you understand the speaker's feelings and what matters in their message.
All right, let's talk about role-playing. This is a great way to practice answering quickly in real situations.
Yes, exactly. Role playing means acting out a real conversation with a friend, teacher, or even by yourself. You can pretend to order food, talk to someone, or ask for directions.
The more you practice, the faster and more naturally you'll respond in real life. It's like training for a sport. When the real game happens, you're ready.
You can practice with a partner or even alone in front of a mirror. Think about conversations you often have and make up dialogues from them. For example, if you're getting ready for a job interview, practice answering common questions like, "Tell me about yourself," or "Why do you want this job?"
Role-playing can help you feel more confident when speaking, and it's fun too.
Finally, one of the most important things to remember is to stay calm.
Yes, if you worry too much about making mistakes or saying the perfect thing, it can slow you down and make it harder to answer.
That's right. It's easy to worry about sounding perfect, but the goal is to communicate, not be perfect. If you focus on sharing your message instead of fearing mistakes, you'll answer faster.
And here's the truth. Native speakers make mistakes too. It's okay to make grammar mistakes or say a word wrong. Just keep going and don't let those small mistakes stop you.
Exactly. One way to stay calm is to do breathing exercises before you speak. Deep breaths can help you calm down and focus on the conversation, not mistakes. We will learn the last 5 words for today. You can write new words down in a notebook or type them in the comments section to remember them. Context. Definition. The situation in which something happens and that helps you to understand it. Example, understanding context is important for using words correctly. Naturally. Definition. In a way that feels normal and comfortable. Example, you're focusing on the main point and reacting naturally by practicing active listening. Expression. Definition. The look on a person's face that shows emotion or feeling. Example, her expression showed that she was surprised. Relax. Definition, calm and not worried. Example, staying relaxed can help you respond better in conversations. Perfection. Definition, the state of being perfect. Example, you don't have to achieve perfection on your first try when learning English.
Please continue to discuss the questions below. I'm sure other listeners would love to hear your answers too. Just share with us. What does it mean to learn words in context? It means understanding how words are used in sentences and real conversations. What is active listening and why is it important? Active listening means paying attention to words, tone, and body language, which helps you understand better. That's it for today's episode. We hope these tips help you answer faster and feel more confident in your English conversations.
Remember, it's all about practice and getting better. Start using these tips and don't forget to share your progress with us. We love hearing your stories.
If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Also, leave us a comment with any questions or ideas for future episodes.
See you next time.
This is the 8-Minute English podcast series on the Learn English podcast channel. I'm Nathan, and I'm so happy to see you all again. Have you improved your English so far? If yes, keep it up. If not, don't worry. You just need to try a little bit harder each day. You can do it. Today's episode is about a fun way to learn English. It not only helps you relax, but also improves your English skills. Can you guess what it is? That's right, my lovely listeners, it's watching movies. But can movies really help you learn English better? We will find out in the upcoming conversation with English Club members. They will talk about using movies as a way to learn English. They will discuss the benefits, challenges, and tips for choosing the right movies. After watching, don't forget to check out our PDF filled with tips and vocabulary. What are you waiting for? Let's begin.
I just went to the cinema with my best friend yesterday. It reminded me how much I love watching movies. We can explore different worlds, different people, and different situations.
Yeah, I agree. I have so much fun watching movies. And besides, it's a really good way to improve our English skills.
Yeah, totally. For me, movies are great because they show how people really talk. Like I learned the phrase "no way" from a movie. But in real life, people use a lot of slang.
Exactly. It's not like in textbooks where everyone speaks perfect English. In movies, people talk fast, they interrupt each other, and sometimes I'm like, wait, what just happened? But that's how conversations are in real life.
Totally. I also love watching movies with different accents. But sometimes it's hard to understand everything. At first, I didn't understand British English, but after watching some British comedies, I got used to the accent.
Yeah, and emotions. I love how movies show how people sound when they're angry, happy, or sad. Like the way people's voices change helps me understand the meaning behind the words. Even if I don't know every word, I can feel what they're saying.
Right. And that's a big part of learning. Hearing different tones and speeds can be hard at first. But after a while, it really helps your listening skills. Let's move on to vocabulary. Do you guys feel like watching movies helps you learn new words?
Oh, for sure. I learned words from action movies like explode, escape, and undercover. My English teacher hasn't taught me those.
And I watch a lot of sports movies, so now I know all the football words like offside and penalty. It's funny, because I don't even play football, but I know all the rules in English.
For me, it's fashion and lifestyle movies. I learned words like stylish, designer, and runway. It's cool because now when I read magazines or watch fashion shows, I understand more.
That's awesome! Each type of movie teaches you different words. It's like building your vocabulary without even trying. But let's be real. There are some challenges too. What's the hardest part for you guys?
Honestly, sometimes the characters talk so fast, I have no idea what's going on. I have to rewind a lot, but I guess that's part of the challenge, right?
Yeah, especially when people talk over each other or there's background noise. I was watching this movie with a lot of action, and I couldn't hear anything they were saying. I was like, can everyone just calm down?
For me, it's hard when they use jokes or say things from their culture. Like they'll say something and everyone laughs, but I'm sitting there like, what's so funny? I think that's when subtitles really help.
True. Subtitles are a lifesaver sometimes.
All right, guys. We have talked about many benefits and challenges of watching movies in English. I think you've all improved a lot through your experience. So I'm sure you have some useful tips. Can you all share with me?
I'll go first. I think choosing the right movies is super important. When I started, I watched kids' movies like Finding Nemo. The dialogue was clear and the story was simple. It really helped me understand better.
That's a great tip, Minji. I started with romantic movies because they usually have everyday conversations, But I also recommend checking if the movie has clear dialogues. Some movies can be hard to follow, especially those with strong accents.
Exactly. And once you find a good movie, using subtitles is key. I always watch with English subtitles first. It helps me connect what I hear with what I see. After a few times, I turn off the subtitles to test my understanding. It's like a quiz for myself.
I do the same. Sometimes I pause and repeat phrases. If a character says something funny, I pause, repeat it, and try to say it like them. It makes me feel like I'm part of the movie.
And taking notes can be really helpful. If I hear a new word or phrase, I write it down. Then I look it up later to understand it better. It's a good way to learn new words.
I love that idea. I once noted down a phrase from a movie, break a leg. I thought it was strange, but then I learned it means good luck.
And after watching, I think it's great to talk about the movie with friends. We can summarize the plot or describe our favorite scenes. It really helps with our speaking skills.
Yes, I talked about the movie Titanic with my friends last week. We talked about all the scenes we loved. It made me practice my English and have fun at the same time.
Exactly. Talking about movies keeps the conversation going. So, let's keep watching and sharing our favorite movies. We're learning and having a great time.
And we can all practice our accents. Who knows? Maybe we'll sound like Hollywood stars someday.
Just don't ask me to sing like them.
Do you like the conversation? Have you learned any useful tips from the club members? Now, let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about some important words related to habits. The first word is situation. A situation is what's happening at a certain time and place. It's how things are and what people are doing. The next word is slang. Slang is a type of informal language. People use it in casual conversation, but it's not always right to use in serious situations. Next, we have interrupt. To interrupt means to stop someone from talking or doing something by speaking or making noise. You break the flow of what they are saying or doing. Now, let's talk about accent. An accent is the way people from different places or countries say words. People can speak the same language but sound different because of their accents. What about plot? The plot is the main story in a book, movie, or play. It's what happens from the beginning to the end of the story. This is also the end of our episode for today. Remember to check out our special PDF for more tips. As always, we love you and wish you all the best with your learning journey. Goodbye, and see you in the next episodes. Hello, listeners. I'm happy to see you again. Welcome to the 8-Minute English Podcast series on the Learn English Podcast channel. I'm your host, Nathan. It's great to have you here with us again. What do you think self-study is? And is it studying a subject or a language by yourself? Yes, it is. But it's more than that. Self-study is something you need to do regularly. You have to practice every day. It's also something you need to learn how to do. Today, we have a conversation between Jasmine, a new member of the school club, and Sharon, the club's former leader. They will talk about how to focus on self-study and keep it going. We've prepared a special free PDF for this episode, full of tips and words to help you learn better. Don't forget to check it out. Let's get started right now.
Hi, Sharon. I'm so happy you're here. I've heard a lot about you from other club members. They all say you have a lot to share.
That's really nice of them to say. I'm glad to be back with everyone. How's the club been for you so far?
I'm really happy we met at this meeting. Things at the club are going well, but I feel stuck when studying, especially alone. It feels boring when I study by myself. I want to improve, but it's hard to get started. Do you have any tips?
I understand, Jasmine. Studying alone can feel hard at first, but if you see it as a way to grow and learn, it can actually be fun. It's not just about English or school. It can help in many areas of life.
Really? I thought it was just extra homework. Why is studying alone so important?
Good question. Self-study isn't just extra work. It's a way to take control of your learning. This is important because things are always changing. When you study on your own, you're building habits to be independent. You're not only learning facts, you're learning how to learn.
So it's really about building confidence and skills for daily life, not just school?
Exactly. Think about it. If you always depended on teachers for everything, self-study helps you get ready for anything new you need to learn. It's not just for English, it's for learning anything.
That sounds really helpful. But when I try to set study goals, I often feel bored. My goals feel too big, and then I get confused.
That happens a lot. One tip is to break big goals into smaller steps. For example, if you want to improve in English, try a small goal like learn 5 new words each day. These smaller steps keep you motivated because you see progress more often, instead of trying to become fluent.
So instead of saying, I want to master English, I could say, I want to learn how to describe my daily routine in English.
You got it. That sounds simple and easy to stick with. When you set small, reachable goals, it's easier to make progress without feeling stressed.
I understand. But there's one more thing. It's hard to focus when I get distracted. My phone, notifications. They all distract me. I feel like I'll turn into a caveman if I don't check them. I'm worried I'll miss club meetings. I don't want to upset people by not checking messages.
Oh, Jasmine, you remind me of when I first joined the club.
Can you tell me more?
Sure. When I first joined, I listened carefully to what everyone said. I even missed an English class to go to a club event. When doing homework, I would pick up my phone every time I got a message. Things changed when I saw my focus was getting worse. A study from California showed this too. Checking your phone can make it harder to focus on work or school.
It's true what people say. You really know a lot. So, what happened after that?
That's what I want to share with you next. To get my focus back, I made a special study area. I tried to keep this space just for studying, like keeping my desk clear, setting my phone to do not disturb, and only having study things around me.
Wow, that sounds really smart. That helps with outside distractions. What about inside distractions, like motivation? I lose motivation quickly.
Self-study isn't just about motivation. To do well, you need a plan too. They work together. When motivation goes away, a plan helps you keep going. You need to decide what to study and for how long.
That sounds easy enough to try.
Yes, and if you want to stay motivated, there's a way. Find someone who also likes learning on their own. They don't need to study the same thing as you. Just have the same goal of learning alone.
That's great. I'll try to find someone, but I'm still not sure what would be good to study.
There are many free resources online. Websites like Coursera, Khan Academy, and YouTube have lessons. You can also find simple apps to help you learn languages or other things. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Study groups or online communities can help too.
You're right. Just talking with you has been a big help. I've learned things I didn't think about before.
You're welcome.
Let's learn some useful words with me now. First, we have realize. It means to understand something clearly. Sharon started to realize that studying in a quiet place helps her focus. Now let's look at confidence. This word means feeling sure that you can do something well. We can feel more confident when we practice self-study every day. Next, we have notification. It's a message sent to your phone or computer. Jasmine finds her phone notifications distracting when she studies. Have you heard this word? Concentrate. This verb means to focus. Jasmine finds it hard to concentrate when she gets distracted. Lastly, we have motivated. It means having a strong reason to do something. Smaller goals help Jasmine stay motivated in her studies. You can write down these words to learn them easily. Let's understand the topic better. by answering some questions. First question: what is the main message of this podcast episode? From what I've learned, self-study is important for our growth and confidence. It gives tips on setting goals, creating a study space, and finding resources. We need to practice and keep a self-study routine. Next question: what will you do to avoid distractions while studying? For me, I will turn off my phone notifications and find a quiet study space. What about you? Please share what you learned from the podcast in the comments below. Before ending today's podcast, I'll share some useful information about the topic. There's a famous study that shows our brains work better with focused study times. It's called the Pomodoro technique. This method was created by Francesco Cirillo in the 1980s, and it really works. Here's how it works. You study for 25 minutes and then take a short 5-minute break. After you do this 4 times, you can take a longer break of 15 to 30 minutes. Try this method when you study alone, then come back here and tell us how it went. I'd love to hear from you. We've come to the end of today's podcast. I hope you can use the advice from this episode in your life. It will make things better for you. Trust me, self-study is not hard. The hard part is keeping it going until we see good results. Stay healthy and keep up your self-study routine. Goodbye, and see you in the next episode. It's another great day with the Learn English podcast channel. My name is Leo, not the zodiac sign, and next to me is Gwen, our calm co-host.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoy listening to our talk. Our podcast and chill episode today is about something really important in learning English. Can you guess what it is, Leo?
I don't know. Maybe listening?
Not quite, but it's also needed for listening.
Let me think.
Here's a hint. To listen well in English, you need to know a lot of words.
Oh, I know. Is it vocabulary?
Exactly. We know some of our listeners find it hard to build vocabulary. In today's episode, we'll share simple but helpful tips to learn new words.
And guess what? We have a free PDF for this episode full of vocabulary and learning tips. Are you ready? Let's begin. If you've been learning English for a while, you might wonder, why is learning new words so hard?
That's actually common among English beginners. The first reason is a lot of people just memorize words. They think, I'll learn a bunch of words quickly. But the problem is, if you don't use them, you'll forget them.
Also, some people feel shy or afraid to make mistakes when using new words. They worry they'll say the wrong thing, so they don't try.
Some even feel like they're just stuck using the same words again and again.
It often happens because they focus mostly on grammar. Vocabulary practice gets left behind.
And not knowing enough words can be a big problem in real life. Imagine, for example, you're traveling abroad. You want to order food, but you don't know the words on the menu. It feels frustrating, maybe even embarrassing.
Yes, or let's say you're in a meeting at work. Everyone's speaking fast, using business words you don't understand. That can make you feel nervous or unsure about speaking up. It's totally normal to feel unsure when you don't know the right words.
Absolutely. In our next part, we'll share some simple tips to grow your vocabulary.
First up, start with what you already know. Learning new words can be difficult, but it's easier if you start with words you already know.
That's right. Begin with familiar words and try to add from there. Let's say you already know the word happy. From there, you can learn similar words like joyful and cheerful. This way, you're connecting new words with something you already understand.
It's like building blocks. The more you add, the stronger your vocabulary gets. Plus, it helps you use the words in the right situations.
So, always start with what you know and slowly expand.
Next tip, read more often. Reading is one of the best ways to grow your vocabulary.
Yes, and you don't need to read hard books. Choose things that are right for your level so you don't feel lost. It can be anything from short stories to news or blog posts.
Set aside just 10 minutes a day for reading. This small habit can make a big difference. You'll see new words in context and understand how they're used.
And don't forget, if you find new words, write them down. You can look them up later and try to use them in your own sentences. Now, here's another important tip. Learn words in context. Memorizing a list of words is hard, but when you learn them in context, it's easier to remember and use them correctly.
What do we mean by context?
Well, it's about learning words as they come up in situations or stories. For example, let's say you're reading a story about cooking. You might learn words like stir, chop, and boil, because they're all part of cooking.
Instead of just memorizing the word boil alone, you see it in a sentence. Like, she boiled water to make pasta. Now you understand what it means and how to use it.
So learning in context helps because you get a full picture of the word, not just its meaning. You see how it fits into real situations.
And don't just read. Watch conversation videos or listen to podcasts. These help you hear how words are used in real conversations. For example, you can check out Learn English with Jessica or English Speaking course on YouTube. They offer great content that uses everyday language.
Also, follow along with transcripts. It's easier to learn a word if you hear it and see it written at the same time. For example, let's say you're listening to a podcast or watching a video with English subtitles. You hear the speaker say, "The weather is beautiful today." Now, you see each word written on the screen, and you hear how it's said. You can repeat what they say, like, "The weather is beautiful today," and try using it in your own sentence. For example, "The weather is beautiful in my city."
That's the idea. Hearing it, seeing it, and then using it yourself helps keep the word in your memory. So, try it out. Find some audio with a transcript or subtitles, follow along, and start practicing. It can help you improve a lot. Let's go through some vocabulary relevant to today's topic. Expand. Meaning, to make something bigger or to grow. Example, reading books can expand your vocabulary. News article. Meaning, a piece of writing in a newspaper, magazine, or website about daily events. Example, I am reading a news article about animals in Africa. Situation. Meaning, the way things are at a certain time or place, what is happening. Example, in a crowded situation, you should speak clearly. Look something up. Meaning, to search for information about something. Example, if you don't know a word, look it up in the dictionary. Mimic. Meaning, to copy how someone else speaks or acts. Example, she mimics her teacher to practice English pronunciation. Why is it important to learn vocabulary in context?
Learning vocabulary in context is like learning a word's personality. It helps you understand how the word fits in different situations. This makes it easier to remember and use the word correctly, just like you remember a friend's habit.
How can speaking English help you practice and learn new words?
Speaking English helps you remember new words better because you use them in real life. You can also hear feedback from others, helping you fix mistakes and learn better.
Using flashcards and apps is also a good way to learn new words. Flashcards are a simple but powerful tool. Write the new word on one side and the meaning on the other. Then, test yourself.
Let's say you're learning the word excited. On one side of the flashcard, you write excited, and on the other side you write feeling happy and full of energy. Then, whenever you have a few minutes, maybe while waiting for the bus or during a break, you can pull out your flashcards. Check the other side to see if you got it right.
And if you like technology, there are great vocabulary apps like Anki and Quizlet. These apps make learning more fun with games and quizzes so you don't get bored.
Yeah, apps make it easy to learn anytime. Plus, you can use them anywhere, on the bus, during lunch, or before bed.
Yeah, I love how easy they are to use. Next up, let's talk about practicing speaking and writing. Learning words isn't just about memorizing them. You need to use them in real life. Try using new words in your daily conversations. Don't worry about making mistakes. It's part of the learning process.
For example, you just learned the word delicious. You could practice by using it in your daily conversations. If you're eating a meal, you might say, "This pizza is delicious." Or if you're at home and there's no one around, you can still practice.
Just talk to yourself. You could say, "My coffee tastes delicious today," even if you're the only one listening. It still counts as practice.
And here's another tip: keep a journal. Write down new words and make sentences with them. This way, you're not just memorizing, you're using them in writing.
That's a great idea. Speaking and writing make the words stick better. Now for our last tip, review and repeat. Learning vocabulary isn't something you do only once. You need to review new words often. The more you see the words, the easier they are to remember.
And it's easy to forget them if you don't review often. Set aside a few minutes each day to go over the words you've learned. You could even make it part of your daily routine, like while you're having breakfast or before you sleep.
Another idea is to set reminders on your phone. Little alerts can help you remember to review during the day.
Yes, review is the secret to long-term memory. Let's go through some vocabulary relevant to today's topic. Actively, meaning doing something with a lot of energy and effort. Example: she listens actively in class to understand everything better. Memorize, meaning to learn something so you can remember it without looking at it. Example: he tries to memorize the lyrics of his favorite song. Mistakes, meaning things done in the wrong way or something incorrect. Example: my friend made a few mistakes on her test. Journal, meaning a notebook where people write down their thoughts, ideas, or daily events. Example: Jake writes in his journal every evening about his day. Review, meaning to look at something again to remember or check it. Example: she reviewed her notes before the test. Why is it important to use new words in sentences when learning them? It helps you understand what they mean and how to use them right. When you practice using new words in your own writing, you're more likely to remember them later. How does keeping a journal help with remembering new words? A journal is a place to write down new words, their meanings, and examples. This helps you learn the words better because you're writing them down and reviewing them. Vocabulary building is a journey, but with these tips, it doesn't have to be hard.
Yep. Just a little bit of effort each day will make a big difference over time.
We hope these tips help you improve your vocabulary. Don't forget to check out our free PDF with vocabulary and tips in the description or comments.
Thanks for joining us today.
We hope you find these tips helpful and fun.
Goodbye, and see you in our next episodes.